Welcome to Sullivan Guitar Works, and today at OGW Studios we're going to be taking a look at some different gear. We're going to be taking a look at different softwares I use when I'm recording and producing music. Today I will be specifically looking at 5 different programs that I use when I am recording demos or tracking. I have used these when recording final products for my old band. I use these for when I'm making samples and mixing and mastering. I basically use them for everything. There will be a week gap after this video before my next new one, as we have the school holidays coming up. It is only 1 week, so it's just a week gap for me. And there'll be nothing else until the Christmas period, at which I'll let you know what my schedule is going to be then. So the first thing we'll be talking about today, and the first program on my list, is probably the essential beginner program that I needed to get started, and that is the Reaper DAW. Now, I understand Reaper has a bit of a bad rep sometimes because people think the interface is a little bit scary and a little bit clunky. I find the interface fantastic. I find it really user-friendly. I find it really easy to navigate. I love the automation. I love the layouts, the themes. There's tons of themes. I use just the traditional classic theme. Don't really need to mess with that. For me, it's more for the use of recording. When I'm mixing and mastering, I find it really easy to navigate. It's easy to have my groupings for drums and different instruments for when I am doing multi sort of mixes. It's really simple to render tracks and things like that. It's all very user interface focused, and the encoders for MP3 and things like that. It's all super useful. I'm not going to go into specs and talk about things like that. I'm just going to talk about my experience with it and how much I like it. So I would recommend Reaper to anyone to give a try, especially if you're starting out. It wasn't the first DAW I used. I started off using Cubase. I did love Cubase. I found it really simple as well. But as Cubase grew, I don't think I grew with it. I didn't enjoy the new interfaces. I have tried Ableton. I've tried Logic. Never really liked them, never really felt super comfortable with them. Reaper is just one of those ones that really stood out to me and really grabbed my attention. So check out Reaper DAW. You can get it on free trials, and then it isn't very expensive if you want to download it and keep it. I thought it would be great to take the plunge and download it because it is a fantastic program. The next software I'm going to talk about is a Slate Digital software, and specifically I'll be talking about the Virtual Mix Rack, also known as the VMR. The classic version I use has presets of bass, drums, EDM, vocals and guitar. I use it myself for bass sounds. I have a preset bass sound that I use. It's one of my 2 bass sounds. I have a clean and a dirt. I use this as my clean bass sound. It is awesome sounding. It really bulks up the bass and supports the guitar really well, but it also helps the bass cut through with a lot of attack. I love the drum presets for overheads and for room mics when recording drums. You can get some really interesting sounds and some really full mixed sounds, so I use that a lot on drums. There is a lot of expectation when you hear the name Slate Digital. If you know anything about music production, you'll know that name. I love this program. It's fantastic, even in classic form. I probably do need to update it soon, and I'll get round to it, but right now I am happy with the presets I've got because I'm using them for certain things, and that sound is something I want to keep using. I would recommend this to anyone. If you're starting out and want to take the plunge on buying some programs, this is a great one to start with. Next software I'll be talking about is actually a free one, and you can donate if you wish to. This is the MT Power Kit drum kit from Mando Audio. Kit is 2 crashes, a ride, china, splash, hi-hats, snare, kick, 2 rack toms, which is a high and a mid, and a floor tom. But there are different velocities and things you can do with them. There are there are choked cymbals. There are different stages of use with a hi-hat, from closed to sort of open to fully open. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with this kit. It is not super expansive like the Easy Drummer or the old school drum kit from Hell and things like that. All those programs, we have tons of options. But what this is a fantastic starting base for a drum kit, and I use this for all my demos because it's just a solid sounding setup. The kick I like to tweak, and I usually sample replace some of the kick to get a more natural tone, and I will mix that, of course. I do a bit of mixing on the cymbals, but the one thing about this kit is the snare is absolutely brutal. It bites and it cuts through in a mix so much. I've actually used this snare when I was mixing a live drum kit, and I used it as a little bit of support in the background, and it really beefed up the crack of the snare. There's some really cool drum fill programs you can get on here as well that are kind of handy for a little bit of inspiration if you're not a natural drummer who writes. I'm not, and I have used it in the past to find some really interesting stuff. It's really cool when you're doing odd time to find some little straight time fills and modify them. That can be really good and really helpful. But mostly this is a fantastic all-encompassing starting piece of kit. If you are experienced and been doing this a long time, you're probably going to get something bigger for your drum sounds and something more sort of prestigious, maybe you could say, but you're more likely going to be using live drums with a live drummer, so you won't need something like this. But this is the kind of thing that recording demos would be really great for people who are first, bedroom recording or home studio recording. This could be a massively useful tool for you. So the MT Power Drum Kit from Manda Audio is something I would recommend any day to anyone starting out, especially. But even if you have a studio and want something new to play with, I check out that snare especially. It's just got a lot of attack, a lot of punch, and the rest of the kit's no slouch either. The next program I'll be talking about is from IK Multimedia, and it is the AmpliTube 4. Now, AmpliTube, you'll probably know, again, if you know anything about music production, is a lot of guitar and bass simulations, cab simulations, sounds. It's just a fantastic all-encompassing spectrum of guitar sounds. You can do so much with it. I think it has the custom shop section, collections, the legacy, the free, the bass AmpliTube 4 section. There's so much in there. If you're a big fan of Dimebag, there's some awesome Dimebag tones in there. There's some really cool stuff. I use this personally for some tweaking for guitar parts. Sometimes if my guitar has a ambient sort of third guitar part in it, I will use AmpliTube for some of those boosted sounds, some of those different lead parts. I use my second bass sound after my one that I do with my VMR. I have my dirt bass sound. I have a preset saved based on a VST from the AmpliTube, and it's fantastic. It sounds amazing. AmpliTube is a great program, super easy interface. Again, I'm all about easy interface. I'm all about stuff being presented to you in a way where you can just mess around and find accidental really cool things, and it doesn't feel like you have to know exactly what you're doing when you start out. And once you do get used to using it, you'll be able to do things quickly and easily. I would recommend AmpliTube to anyone. It goes without saying since I'm talking about it. It's really simple, really effective, and that's all you really need. Usually people say last but not least, and definitely not least in this case, I'll be talking about the Easy Mix from TuneTrack. Now, I use the Easy Mix on every project because it's my go-to for mastering and mixing. So even if I'm not using any of my guitar presets or my bass presets, or I've got live drums and I'm not using the power kit at all, I will go straight to my Easy Mix because this has so many tools in it. It is literally like a giant tool chest that you see in garages, like a snap-on tool chest. It is that, but digitally. It's fantastic. The expansions, I'll talk about the ones I have preset on my computer in a second, but the expansions and all the things you can do with this program are just, it's crazy. When I first started doing music, I was doing stuff at college and using Cubase and messing around with some of the pre sort of VST instruments and things like that, and there was some really cool stuff in there. I was amazed at the Sibelius program for getting scores, and I was just impressed with what it could do. If I saw this now and heard what this could do now, I think I'd be definitely, I'd kind of be shocked, probably into a small coma, because this is just insane, the properties and the things you can do with this program. Programs I've got set on mine at the moment are Core Expansion, Dirt, the Drums Toolbox, the electronic programs, Easy Mix 1, Easy Mix 2. I have the Mark Needham preset pack, the Mastering preset pack, the Metal, and the Metal Essentials. I have used multiple things from every single one of those packs. I saw the electronic and I thought, I'll never use that. It's cool, I'll put it on, it's there. But I thought to myself, yeah, that would just kind of lay fallow. But I actually have used that a few times when it came to vocal mastering for some interesting parts. And I actually used a vocal effect on a guitar part for a project, and it was really unusual and really cool. And sometimes when you use stuff like that, it's so incompatible. But this was awesome. It just worked out really well, that the tone of the guitar and the nature of the section of the guitar lent itself to a vocal line, and that effect I use really put that part over the top for me. Dirt Pack is awesome. You can get some crazy drum sounds out of it, some real grindy sort of rough raw sounds, and some fantastic room miking sort of sounds. If you want to mic a room up for a bit of dirt and ambience, that's a really cool expansion pack. The core expansion just has a ton of stuff on there that you'll find uses for all over the place. The drums toolbox is amazing for snare reverbs and snare sounds and kick sort of tightening. Lots of really cool, interesting stuff you can use for gain staging as well. Easy Mix 1 and 2 is a fantastic starting, bass line to start with. It's really cool, and I use that quite often. Mark Needham's got some really interesting stuff in there, guitar stuff, and really cool expansions for, rough, gritty, dirty guitar sounds. I probably find myself using the Metal and the Metal Essentials and the drum toolbox the most, but the Metal part has really classic cool bass sounds, lots of metal bass sounds that are really fun, and the Metal Essentials has a bit more of an extension of that with some interesting options. Some of the mastering tools are really, really interesting. There's some real cool compression, some limiters and things like that. There's a really cool compressor shelf limiter I like to use on tracks to shore up and get some of those frequencies in line and kind of have a really cool sound. If I use some odd guitar parts in a riff where you've got a little bit of over distortion and over saturation, that can really do a great job in limiting and making it work within the parameters of the song, and you don't get a really all over the place listening experience. And something that's really important, I think you'll see, I spoke about this earlier, is user interface. It's just super easy. It's just there. Everything you need is it's audibly different when you click on something, and you can see your differences, you can see what you're using. You layering the effects is simple, and just you can do so much with Easy Mix. That's, I think, why Toontrack is so big. I don't use Easy Drummer, but I have used it in the past a lot, and it's again amazing. Much like Easy Mix, blows your mind how much is available at your fingertips. And again, as I've said, for every one of these programs, I would highly recommend this to anyone. Go out and get this. You have access to so much. You can do so much, and when you have access to those tones and those sounds, you don't feel limited by just what's in your hands. A guitar is great for recording your ideas, but when you want to bring out something more, that production element becomes so important, and things like Easy Mix make that possible. So there you have 5 of my favorite software and programs that I use when I'm recording. I didn't call this essential because these are just my favorites. Much like me talking about my influences and guitars I love, I'm talking a lot from opinion. This is YouTube, so opinion is pretty much currency here. And if there's anything you think I missed or talking about in the program, something you do with the programs, let me know. If there's programs that you use that you think I could get a kick out of, please let me know. I'm thinking about doing a video in the near future where I talk about free programs you can find online. I've already got some things that I use that are really cool, that are free, and they definitely need shouting out by more people. And if I could bring a bit of attention to some of these things, even the little bit that I command with my channel, that would be great. Like I said, hit the comments. Let me know what you thought of the video. If you're wanting to see certain things, if you want to see more gear, let me know. If you want to hear me talk more about music and hear some opinion stuff, let me know. And subscribe to the channel, share, like the videos, watch some of the other videos. If you haven't watched them yet, watch them all. If you haven't watched them yet, there's a few on there for you to pick through. There's some different stuff in there as well to keep everyone entertained. Hit the notification bell if you have subscribed, and most of all, take it easy and take care.